These are the things you'll need to be considering for your film or scene analysis. The elements on the left are actual film techniques, and the elements on the right are sort of extraneous or outside of the text itself, or across the entire text. So these are the more complicated things, whereas the things on the left are things you can basically just look at and recognize. So colour palette is the first of these. You're thinking about light and dark, if it's more towards the red spectrum, the blue spectrum, the yellow spectrum, and you could even, if you really want to, Google the significance or the meaning of different colours, and you could analyse what they mean in the scene. So, red equals passion, that sort of thing. Purple equals royalty. If those colours come up, you could discuss the symbolism or the relevance of them to the piece. The soundtrack, so how does the music chosen and its use or lack of use impact on the piece. Shot types and camera angles are very easy to spot and recognise, but you'll be looking for patterns within the section. So if it's mostly close up, what does that communicate to the audience? Acting, so how did the actual characters interact? The sound effects, so this is anything that takes place that isn't soundtrack, so music. That could be bass, it could be sound effects, it could be rumbling coming from far away, and then you'll analyse how this affects the piece. Dialogue, how the lines delivered and what are the actual quotes they say. Is there any significance to these? The costuming, what does it show about the character being presented and how does it contrast them against the other characters? The lighting, again, you're thinking not only light or dark, but also angles and the number of points of lighting and how this affects the piece. So similar to camera angles, low or high lighting also has an impact on how we perceive people. You can look at the casting, this is quite a tricky one, but the actor that they've chosen, how does that affect our perception of the actor and the scene taking place that you're looking at? Editing, you're thinking long, fast, short, etc. So the elements on the right hand side relate to things that are not actually within the film but that can be outside of it. So you'll consider how your scene fits within the plot overview or how it relates to the rest of the plot that has taken place before and after. You'll consider the pace, so does this section go faster, slower, or is it consistent with the rest of the film? Directorial style is a tricky one. You might need to go into IMDb to find out what other films the director has made and make a connection between the style of this film and the other styles that the director has adopted for different films, and find elements that are consistent with the rest of the filmography of the director or other things that are different. In terms of historical significance, this is a bit of a fringe case. You can discuss the significance of this scene in relation to other elements of history, but it may not necessarily be the case. Genre, you'll describe how your scene fits within the genre, or if it does not, or if it fits within multiple genres, or if your particular scene is focused around a certain genre style. So then you want to consider the thematic patterns, so the themes of the piece overall and how your scene represents them or contrasts with them. Character development, so if this is an important part of the character's arc or it shows something that's inconsistent with their character as established up until now, you might want to discuss that. And the mood, so what emotions are evoked in this scene and how does that fit with the mood of the entire piece. So your job is to combine elements that you have located within the film and create your analysis of them. So you are plussing together elements of the film which you've noticed, and then you are producing the equals portion, which is not completed here, which is your analysis which adds to the understanding of the film. So if you consider just a layperson who's watched this film that you are studying in a cinema, they would have got the major points, they would have understood the plot and the character. Your job is to go that next level and watch it a number of times and produce an analysis that adds to a normal layperson's understanding of the film and shows them elements that they may not have noticed but which undermine or underline the message that is being produced by the film, and obviously through the actions of the director and the actors within it. So the first step is just do a number of passes of the film, so watch it 3 or 4 times. You may want to divide this up into separate sections. So in the first pass you're just noting down all the shot types. In the second watching you're looking at the sound or the soundscape or the sound effects or the soundtrack. Third take you might want to look at acting, characterization, those sort of things. Fourth you might want to look at the setting, costume and props within the piece. And however you want to do it is really up to you, but your job is basically to produce a long list of as many elements of the film that you can record And then step 2 is the hard part, which is where you write out either as a paragraph or you just do the plus, plus, plus equals model, where you plus the elements together and then produce an equal sign which shows the purpose of that or why it's important or explains it to the audience. And then once you've got this sort of plan, not jotted down with all the elements you want to talk about, and more importantly the analysis you want to provide of the film, then it's time to get technology involved and have a look at how you can use these tools to make your analysis much clearer to your audience, and so that we as a class can see your analysis quite clearly on our screens. Okay, so this is how you're going to have to set up what you need to do your annotation of a key scene. You'll need to open up OBS, which you've already downloaded or installed. You're going to add an audio input capture. For this you can use anything. Basically your laptop will have a microphone in it and it'll just be one of the options here depending on what you've got set up. Mine are a little bit different of course, but you can just use whatever you need. Okay, and then you'll have that at the top. Then you'll need to add in a display capture which will just record the screen, which is what I'm doing right now. Call it whatever you want, and then save it. And then obviously there's only one option because there's only one display on your screen. So all you'll be checking for is that you've got some audio levels here, and that you've got your display capture mirroring and mirroring and mirroring all the way into your screen. Then you'll need to get your film. In our case will be on Microsoft Stream. This is just a random film I found that is apparently copyright free. So this video is technically legal, hopefully. And then you'll need to open the drawing tool, which is Epic Pen, which opens almost as another layer no matter where you open anything else. And then the last thing you'll need to do is mute the audio or put it down very low so that you can, when you record yourself, you can actually hear you over the sound. You might want to put it very low. You could probably play around with testing this just a little bit. And basically you want to full screen the video, and then you'll be pausing and writing on the screen as you need to. So the film opens. Here we see it's black and white and we see pages being turned in a very old-fashioned way. And this is the credit sequence, so we're going to jump ahead. This is our opening scene. We see a man with a gun standing by the fence. There's a mid to long shot, and then suddenly he disappears off screen, leaving it in darkness. We might do something like, if we pause this scene, click pencil, pick a colour you think is important. You could talk about, the way the lines recede into the background and cause a little bit of a focal point here, and also the lights pick out as important things that are happening just here. Then if you like, you can click delete or back and play on through. So going back to the mouse and clicking there. Here we see a close-up shot of this man here. Of course I don't know anything about the film because it doesn't mean much to me. Here we see he's in the center of the screen, and the foregrounding of the bottle shows that he's, I imagine, an alcoholic. Who knows? Let's find out. Cool, and then we get a nice pan shot out into a two shot, and then all of a sudden we see the other character we're going to meet, who will become important in the film later, maybe, I'm not sure. I haven't seen this film before. So we get pencil, we draw, we see a nice two shot. We can see they're dressed very similarly. Their costume is a black suit, and this shows the way they're almost connected in the picture. Shows that they will be a team or in some way involved together. And then the remainder, you can see there's very few people in the background, and all the lines break it up to show us that these characters are together by choice rather than by force. And we will play on through. So I hope this gives you some idea of how I'm expecting you to do a key scene analysis. Obviously the examples I'm providing here are very poor because I haven't seen this film, and I'm just trying to show you the way that the actual technology you'll be using works. And then we click stop recording, and then we are done.